So Peter was kept in prison, but the church was earnestly praying to God for him. The night before Herod was to bring him to trial, Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, bound with two chains, and sentries stood guard at the entrance. Suddenly an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the side and woke him up. "Quick, get up," he said, and the chains fell off Peter's wrists. Acts 12, 5 through 7. When the church prays, miracles happen, not because of our power, but because of God's power. Acts 12 reveals the incredible miracle of a prison being opened with only the force of the Holy Spirit freeing the Apostle Peter as the church prayed for him. God's invitation remains for the church to pray and experience His miraculous power today. There was a great sense of urgency for the church to pray fervently for Peter, since he was being held under Herod, who had just had James killed. The church gathered for prayer in the home of Mary. They could have all prayed individually on this night in their own dwellings, but they didn't. They modeled for the church of today God's invitation for us to pray together. Connected prayer affords the church the opportunity to lean on God and one another as a source of faith, hope, and expectancy. As Peter spent this evening in prison, he was sleeping between two soldiers while sentries stood guard at the entrance. Peter's sleeping denotes trust in God and the prayers of the church. He was confident the church was praying for him. Though Peter was asleep, the church was awake and praying. Peter took the posture of trust, while the church took the posture of God, who never slumbers or sleeps. Peter's faith in God and the prayers of the church was most likely very secure, since he had already seen God deliver him from jail at least once. The posture of the church was leaning into God and interceding. There was absolutely no thought in the church to let things work out on their own, or God will work this out no matter what we do. The church was crying out to God in the act of intercession and participation. The prayer actions of the church were and are vital. Worship, evangelism, service, and discipleship all play critical roles in the life of the church, but Jesus proclaimed His house would be a house of prayer for a purpose. Ministry to others flows from connection with God. God's work in the world is ongoing, vibrant, and alive. The prayers of the church enliven us to participate in His work and surrender ourselves to His mission. When the church intercedes, we acknowledge our worth to God. He cares about us and our needs. Interceding together for needs is a pattern of life in the New Testament church, and it is our model to follow. As a pastor, I've seen the greatest ministries of our church flow from times of connected prayer. When believers pray together, we connect to the plan of God. Prayer gives us insight into God's mission. It gives us opportunities for discernment that will maintain our place in God's work rather than taking His place. In a prayer meeting, we not only participate in what God is doing, we have the opportunity to be encouraged by communion in prayer with others. Like logs placed on a fire together to make it burn hotter, when we unite in prayer together, the fire of God will burn within us. God delights in His people praying together. The life and ministry of Christ and the New Testament church is marked by prayer more than worship, service, or even miracles, because those actions flowed from their prayer lives. Acts is an incredible story of how the gospel of Jesus turned the world upside down through the power of the Holy Spirit. Our passage about the prison opening for Peter illustrates how the church captured that power in prayer. When we reach to God before we reach to humanity, humanity is touched with the power of God. I can't tell you that Peter would have died in prison if the church would not have prayed for him, and I don't have to consider that because they did pray collectively. However, I can rest assured that the prayer of the church for Peter was a pivotal part of his miraculous release, so pivotal that Luke includes it in this amazing story. When we gather in prayer, we gather in expectation of God working. When the church prays collectively in expectation of God's will and kingdom coming, we will not be surprised when our Apostle Peter is rescued from prison and appears to us. This type of prayerful expectation will lead us to throw open the door and say, "Come on inside. We were expecting you."